Namaskar. I welcome you all in the 10th technical session of Akhil Bharatiya Shiksha Samagam, National Education Policy 2020. The topic of this session is Internationalization of Education. I would like to welcome the chairperson of this session, Professor Sudhir Jain, Vice-Chancellor of Banaras Hindu University. I welcome you, sir. Our learned panelists are Dr. Vidya Yeravdekar, Pro-Vice-Chancellor, Symbiosis, Pune. Heartiest welcome to you, sir. Our next panelist, Professor Anand Agrawal, Vice-Chancellor, Chandigarh University. Welcome, sir. Professor D.C. Rajkumar, Vice-Chancellor, OP Jindal University. Dr. Archana Mantri, Vice-Chancellor, Chitkara University, Punjab. Welcome, ma'am. Now I request the chairperson to start the session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very interesting discussion now for next about half an hour. Internationalization of education. Now let me quickly share with you my views on what I mean by internationalization of education. There can be some difference of opinion. To me, the first purpose of internationalization of education should be, do we prepare our students to play on the world stage? Do we prepare them to be employable anywhere in the world, lead the international teams? And do they have the cultural resilience and capability to be able to work anywhere? We can achieve this by a number of ways. We can bring international teachers to our campus. We can bring international students from outside who will work with our students and make our students better prepared for the rest of the world. And we can send our students abroad. So these are some of the ways in which we can do that. The second purpose is to build aspirations for our universities to become global leaders. We cannot be global leaders if we remain isolated, if we are not having a good communication and good partnerships with universities internationally. And finally, we must benchmark ourselves with international best practices. When we work with other institutions, when we work with other universities, we learn from each other. And to me, that can be a very, very powerful benefit out of any internationalization. It also challenges us to improve our own infrastructure. What may be acceptable as a state of affairs in our own university for our own students may not be acceptable for us if we were to play on the world stage, and therefore it will help us to improve our own infrastructure. So with these introductory comments, I must initiate the conversation by inviting Professor Vidya Yeravdekar. She has been a Pro-Chancellor at Symbiosis, which has done a very, very exemplary work on internationalization. Professor Vidya.
A very good morning to all of you. And Mr. Chairman, sir, you really set the tone for this discussion. And I will just take 5 minutes. Of course, I'm very, very passionate about internationalization of higher education. So 5 minutes is too less a time, but nevertheless, I'll try and cover. When we look at internationalization, or when we talk about internationalization of higher education, what comes to our mind is always foreign students or global student mobility. So but beyond that, not much has been spoken about. I'm very glad that the Honorable Chairman did mention more things than just students. And if you really look at the number of students, we all know that India attracts very, very less number of foreign students, just about 50,000 now, whereas it sends 10 lakh Indian students abroad to more than 80 countries. And unfortunately, we are the 26th country to be foreign student seeker, but the second one to be a giver of our Indian students to foreign countries. And I think student mobility does play an important role. It's not just about why do we require foreign students is a question that we should ask ourselves. Is it only for the number game that some other country has more than 2 lakh and therefore we should have more than 50,000? Or is it for something more? And rightly said by the chairman just now, that we need to create our own students as global citizens. And one of the reasons, or one of the ways that can be done is to have these diverse cultural students in your classroom so that diverse discussions happen. And therefore, we need to attract foreign students, not just for capacity building of their countries or building a human resource of those foreign countries from where they come from, but even more importantly, our students should learn the different cultures so as to, create a concept of global citizenship. So that should be one of the more important reasons for attracting foreign students. There are a lot of ways how we can attract foreign students. I will go, if time permits, I'll talk about it later. The second, of course, beyond student mobility, what can we talk about? So internationalization at home is a concept that has been well spoken about, well discussed from the past, not much in India, but many countries have practiced it. I wouldn't say fortunately, but as an impact of this COVID-19 pandemic, internationalization at home was even practiced by Indian universities. We never had so many foreign teachers who would teach in Indian classrooms as much as they taught in the last 2 years. I'm sure all of us here sitting here will agree that while we wanted to have foreign teachers to come and teach in our classrooms, that never happened for several reasons. A, of course, we couldn't afford. B, could be that they didn't want to come to India, and there could be several other reasons. But now with online education and moving on to a hybrid or a blended mode of education, we can see a lot of these foreign teachers in Indian classrooms. Now, what happens if foreign teachers teach in our classrooms? Obviously, students get a global exposure. But more importantly, again, I would say that our teachers get benefited. I've always seen that a foreign teacher in a staff room changes the culture of the staff room. You know, the kind of research, the kind of discussions that take place in these staff rooms, which now are created as virtual staff rooms, definitely happens. And I'm sure many of you all as Vice-Chancellors have seen that the networking with foreign teachers has happened in a much bigger way in these last 2 years than what it was before, and therefore joint research, discussions at least have started happening. So this is the benefit to our own Indian teachers. The third is, of course, curriculum. When we talk about internationalization at home, it's not just about teaching in classrooms, but also looking at a global curriculum. Again, as said by the chairman right now, we want to create global citizens. I mean, NEP has kind of dictated saying that we need to have our students with deep-rooted Indian values, but also have a global citizenship. So how do you do that? And therefore, I think when foreign teachers come into classrooms, international students are sitting virtually or offline, physically, with our Indian students, this whole global citizenship concept definitely comes to the forefront. So internationalization of curriculum again happens because of the network of our own Indian teachers with foreign teachers. They sit together, discuss together, and then come up with a curriculum that is more global than just local. We definitely need to look at the local problems, but we know that many of our students don't remain in India, go abroad and work somewhere, and they need to know about the global issues. And there are so many other common global issues like sustainability, climate change, which also they need to know about. The third is institution. Now, institution, what can they do in the concept of internationalization? We've spoken about foreign campuses in our country, which has not happened, which hasn't seen the light of the day. But we know about the Gift City, which is now planning to attract a large number of foreign universities for the BFSI sector programs. So we will see foreign universities on our campuses. How many of our Indian universities are on foreign campuses? And there are countries which welcome Indian universities to be on their campuses because they simply cannot send as many foreign students as would be educated if there was an Indian university in their region or in their country. So we need to look at such institutional building opportunities as well. If we, in the end, I mean, there's so much that I can talk about, but in the end, if you really look at a SWOT analysis, you know, India has so much of strength to attract foreign students. India has so much of strength to attract foreign faculty. For foreign faculty, India is like a laboratory. You know, the problems that we face, they can actually find solutions to these problems alongside our Indian teachers. And therefore, I think we need to play this card well. The kind of strategies and promotions that are done through the Study in India program or by attracting foreign faculty through the Gyan program or the Spark program are excellent, but I think each university needs to define its own strategy of internationalization so that, you know, we can see more of these trends coming in the forefront. The weakness, I'll just take a minute, the weakness is, of course, you know, not much of promotions are done, and therefore, how do we do that? Again, the Education India portal or, you know, individual universities, whatever they do can be beefed up, you know, through this institutionalization of internationalization because of the NEP. One of the weaknesses that we have is that we don't provide internships or even post-study work, if not work internships for our foreign students. And we've been trying to push this to say that can our foreign students get some opportunities to be in our Indian corporate sector because they know about what the Indian corporate sector is all about. So we need to look at that. And then, of course, opportunities and challenges, I won't go to these in details because of constraints of time. But all I can say that there is so much that Indian higher education can offer. If we can really reduce the complexity of our structure, the governance of our structures, of our Indian higher education institutions, I'm sure we'll be able to attract more foreign students, we'll be able to attract more foreign faculty. And once again, like the Nalanda and the Takshashila, India will be a Vishwaguru of modern times. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Vidya. May I now invite Professor Anand Agrawal, Vice-Chancellor of Chandigarh University.
Respected Honorable Minister, Honorable Governor, chairpersons of various bodies, delegates and friends, a good morning to all of you. I'm going to talk about not only internationalization, but about internationalization with impact. Of course, Chandigarh University has a lot of achievements and accolades in terms of internationalization, ranging from QS World Ranking, QS Asia Ranking, international faculty development programs, inviting Nobel laureates, faculty exchange, student exchange, and annual global events. The question is how we did it. It's by being proactive. When NEP is suggesting to have the Department of International Relations, we established Department of International Relations way back in 2013. Now coming back to the impact. When we hear the word impact, most of us think about research impact. But there are a lot of other impacts on which world over progressive universities are working on. There can be impact on teaching and learning. There can be impact on professional practices where universities can give them insights and directions. There can be impact on the communities where the university is established. There can be impact on the society also. And I really am hopeful that our accreditation agencies and systems start looking the impact of the education institutions in India or outside India. This should be a major criteria for recognizing the university work. Now, how should we plan the internationalization? Is by giving importance, by keeping a strategic priority on internationalization in the universities. And there are a lot of things we can do in terms of internationalization. Professor Vidya has mentioned some of those aspects. I want to make a list here of these different activities we can do with internationalization. Of course, we can have joint degrees after co-designing curriculum. We can co-create courses and programs. We can co-deliver and co-teach. We can also have knowledge co-production and knowledge sharing with the international foreign players. We can also have co-research, and we can specifically co-research on Indian knowledge system with foreign universities. We can work together on problems facing by both or multiple countries like climate change. And of course, students and faculty exchange is something very easy for us to think about. Partnership with foreign companies and organizations is also important, not only with foreign universities. Another fruitful activity which we can do in our institution is to establish a joint center of excellence with international bodies based on their expertise and our need and resources. So there are so many activities to do, and we can select the activities based on our resources, our strengths, and our needs in the world. But what should be the outcome? What should be the goal? The goal should be, as we are talking about the production of global citizens. Global citizens, of course, we are producing and will produce more. But I think one of our major goals should be to make India Vishwaguru. We need to prepare ourselves, our universities, our resources, our faculty members, our staff members, and processes and systems, which is very important in the universities, so that we can co-work with the international players. And emphasis should not only be to learn and to adopt best practices from them, but there should be also emphasis to teach them about the Indian knowledge system, and that will be the greater impact by India on the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Agrawal. May I now request Professor Rajkumar to make his comments?
Honorable Governor of the Uttar Pradesh State, Honorable Union Education Minister, Honorable Chairman of UGC, and my distinguished colleagues, friends, and of course the Chairman of our own session. It's a privilege for me to be personally addressing this unique gathering. I want to keep it telegraphic because we have very little time. So the national education policy, when it focuses on internationalization, it has very clearly outlined 5 objectives. And let's understand what they are so that we can move forward towards fulfilling them. First, it talks about we need to have a large number of international students studying in India. That's the first thing it talks about. Second, it talks about Indian students having mobility to go outside India, which is about student exchange programs, visits, research, and other type of things. Third, it talks about internationalization at home with a very strong focus on certain disciplines, including Indian studies, including culture, history, politics, other things, where the focus is on people from other parts of the world coming to India for studies on these specific disciplines, how we can improve the curriculum so that India becomes an attractive destination. Fourth, it talks about international collaborations, where universities do student exchange, dual degree program, study abroad program, exchange program, joint teaching, joint research, and a whole range of other things. Fifth, it talks about Indian universities setting up international campuses and international universities setting up Indian campuses. Personally, the last one, I am not very excited about it. The bus for that already left 10 years ago. Too late, and post-COVID, it has posed even greater challenges, but I don't want to deal with it now. Let's go through the first 4 major aspects of internationalization. How do we bring in international students from India? The reality today is that we are, in many ways, if you look in terms of economic terms, we are in a very adverse situation. We are, in many ways, exporting larger number of students to the world. So today, India has become the first largest source country for international students. We were ranked number 2 in the world, but just now we become number 1. Over 325,000 students are in that process, and we became number 1 in the world. So we are a source country for universities around the world. And we're also having relatively a very small number. Just pre-pandemic, we had around 75,000 international students. It came down to 20,000, and it marginally increased to 23,000 just now. Now, if you look at the data, for example, US hosts 1 million students, UK 5.5 lakhs, Canada 5 lakhs, China nearly 5 lakhs, Australia 4.6 lakhs, France, small countries, 3.5 lakhs, Russia 3 lakhs, Germany 3 lakhs, Japan 2.2 lakhs, Spain 1.25 lakhs, and we are barely 23,000 students. Now, this number should make us realize that we have a long way to go, and how do we address that? Well, to begin with, we should recognize that we are not an attractive higher education destination. We need to radically transform the approaches that we have currently in place to attract international students. If you look at all these countries which have become global destinations for higher education, they have made policy changes right from curriculum to course structure to academic flexibility to transfer of credits to visa process. I'll give you a simple data point. We host nearly 250 students annually from different parts of the world. Over 500 students go abroad from our own campuses. I cannot tell you the nightmare that we go through for getting students our visas. We also recruit. We have 120 full-time faculty members from 42 countries in the world working on our campus. And again, I can tell you, it is the most excruciatingly painful process for getting visas for these people. So the first and most important reform we need to do is to reform the visa process so that attracting students from other parts of the world becomes an easy possibility. The second thing we need to do is to provide greater flexibility for students to study what they are interested in and not what we want them to study. While we may have expertise on a number of areas, we need to look at how these curriculum and courses are transferable. What are the kind of things that international students are interested in? At the end of the day, it's not that they are coming to India alone. They are coming to a global university education system. If we were able to attract students and faculty from Nalanda, Takshashila, Vallabhi, and Vikramshila for many countries around the world, I don't see any reason why we cannot attract students from other parts of the world. Lastly, I want to say that when it comes to the regulatory framework that is currently available for us to promote internationalization, the biggest question we have is resources. I must confess that public universities are facing even greater challenges with regard to having international students and sending international students. We need to have a budgetary allocation to make it as a policy priority, because internationalization in any form of and manifestation requires significant and substantial resources. Lastly, we need to promote the India education brand around the world. I attend conferences around the world and I rarely see Indian regulators, Indian ministry officials, Indian ministry presence in this education, while I see a significant number of them from China, from Brazil, from Mexico, and many other parts of the developing world. If we do all of this, I do believe in the next decade we can improve the current situation and hopefully make India a destination for higher education. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Rajkumar. May I now request Dr. Archana Mantri, Vice-Chancellor of the Chitkara University in Punjab.
नमस्ते सभी सभासदों को। आप सब ने शिक्षा के अंतर्राष्ट्रीयकरण के दिग्गजों और विशेषज्ञों की राय अभी सुनी। आप सब ने गौर किया होगा कि अंतर्राष्ट्रीयकरण इन सभी के लिए, इन सभी विश्वविद्यालयों के लिए विलासिता नहीं, एक ज़रूरत था। और आज यही अंतर्राष्ट्रीयकरण इन सभी विश्वविद्यालयों के लिए पहचान बन गया है। मैं चितकारा विश्वविद्यालय से हूँ। पंजाब में हमारा विश्वविद्यालय स्थापित है। 2009 में जब हमने ऑफिस ऑफ इंटरनेशनल अफेयर्स स्थापित किया, उस समय हमारा सिर्फ एक ध्येय था, एक उद्देश्य था, हम अपने बच्चों को, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा बच्चों को अंतर्राष्ट्रीय अनुभव दे सकें। और इसका मतलब क्या था? हम अपने ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा बच्चों को बाहर भेज सकें। 2009 से 2011 2 साल, हर साल सिर्फ 5 से 7 बच्चे बाहर जा पाते थे। आर्थिक तंगी एक वजह थी। Then we rethought, if we cannot send all our students to trot the globe, we will bring globe to our campus. हमने अंतर्राष्ट्रीय सप्ताह की शुरुआत की, ग्लोबल वीक जिसका नाम दिया गया। 2011 में हमारे करीब 50 अंतर्राष्ट्रीय विश्वविद्यालयों के साथ अनुबंध थे। उन सबको पत्र लिखे गए, प्रोफेसर्स को इनवाइट किया गया, लेकिन आए सिर्फ 5 प्रोफेसर, 2 क्रेडिट कोर्स के 5 कोर्सेज, उन्होंने हर क्लास में 60 बच्चों को पढ़ाए। कहने का मतलब, जहाँ पिछले 3 सालों में सिर्फ 15 बच्चे बाहर जा पाए थे या उनको अंतर्राष्ट्रीय अनुभव मिल पाया था, उस साल भले ही 5 प्रोफेसर्स आए, लेकिन उन्होंने 300 बच्चों को पढ़ाया और 10 क्रेडिट उन सभी विद्यार्थियों ने 2-2 करके अर्जित किए। अंतर्राष्ट्रीय अनुभव बढ़ा, न सिर्फ क्वालिटी में बल्कि एक्सेस में भी। 2019 जब हमने अपना लास्ट फिजिकल ग्लोबल वीक मनाया, 73 प्रोफेसर 63 देशों से, 63 यूनिवर्सिटियों से और 37 देशों से हमारे यहाँ थे और 12,000 बच्चों को उन्होंने क्रेडिट कोर्सेज पढ़ाए। हमने किया क्या? हमने सिर्फ भारतीयता के उनके अनुभव को और बेहतर बनाया। फिर चाहे वो कैंपस में जो हमारा अतिविशिष्ट व्यक्तियों के लिए रेस्टोरेंट है, वो पंजाबी तर्ज पर बनाया गया हो, उसकी अंतरसज्जा सारी पंजाबी थी, पंजाबी खाना सर्व किया गया, उनके स्वागत का तरीका भारतीय था। हमने पाया कि वो सभी लोग, ये खोज हमारे लिए भी बहुत रिविलेशन थी कि वो भारतीय संस्कृति, भारतीय परंपरा, भारतीय नृत्य, भारतीय गाना, भारतीय रहन सहन, भारतीय बोलचाल, यहाँ तक कि भारतीयों के जीवन जीने की कला को वे सभी बहुत सम्मान करते हैं। और हमने इसी परंपरा, इसी अनुभव को उनके लिए बेहतर बनाया। और अब आई एम पुटिंग इट ऑन रिकॉर्ड, 2022 में अक्टूबर में जब हम अपना ग्लोबल वीक अनाउंस कर चुके हैं, हम सोच रहे थे हम अगेन सिर्फ 70 प्रोफेसर्स को बुलाएंगे। आज हमारे पास 550 से ज़्यादा एप्लीकेशंस पेंडिंग हैं। अनुपात रेशो 1 से 5 को एक्सीड कर चुका है। हम सभी को, मेरा आप सभी से यही प्रार्थना भी है कि अंतर्राष्ट्रीय करें, शिक्षा का अंतर्राष्ट्रीयकरण बहुत ज़रूरी है, पर भारतीय मूल्यों से समझौते किया बिना। धन्यवाद।
थैंक यू।
Now I would like to invite questions for panel discussions, and it's a humble request. Answer should be point to point. Thank you so much.
All right. So we will have very crisp, short questions, not speeches All right, Professor Vidya.
Very good morning.
And just one second, before you go there, I want to see more women asking questions. So if all agree, we will have one man and one woman. Is that okay? Yeah, 50% भागीदारी होनी चाहिए कम से कम क्वेश्चन पूछने में. अभी वाइस चांसलर्स में काफ़ी कम भागीदारी है. आज इस हॉल में कितने कम women colleagues हैं. I hope कि 10 साल में there will be many more, but let's have questions 50-50. चलिए, Professor Vidya.
Thank you very much, sir. The dimensions that this panel covered were restricted to curriculum, student mobility, faculty mobility, and just a passing reference to financial resources through budgetary allocations. And that's where my question on the internationalization, is it just about people internationalization, or should we also think of internationalization of financial resources? The reason that I'm asking is, while educational loans to students are in the priority sector, the capacity building by institutions is not in the priority sector. And as interest rates harden, access to capital to create such capacity to attract international students requires a kind of a consortia-based funding like HIFA. Can we think of IHIFA, Internationalization of Higher Educational Financial Agencies, where consortia-based lending is possible? So what's the panel's thought on that?
All right, I'll let Rajkumar handle this.
Sure, great. I do agree with you that we need more resources. For once, I have been very much pained by the fact that even today, both public and private universities suffer from GST-based regimes, which simply should not be the case at all. We really need to financially empower our institutions, because as it is, the government funding in relation to universities have reduced significantly. So universities should be given greater leeway to raise resources. Second, we need to build a stronger philanthropic culture, both public and private. In fact, the less talked about in India is that the global public universities raise a lot of resources through private philanthropy, and we need to build that culture. That includes creating tax regimes and 100% type tax exemptions. Third, access to capital is a major issue. A lot of non-academic services that are currently provided by university should be brought to a situation where private equity investment should be coming in, because I don't see any reason why those investments should be directly borne by universities. These are innovative financial structures which public and private universities around the world have done it. We need to bring those practices into India.
All right. Chairman, Vice-Chancellor Jain. Sorry.
Sir, my first thing is, there are best practices already in, the previous university I came from, Savitribai Phule, Pune University. We had the largest foreign students, 10,000 from 41 countries. The second is Jawaharlal Nehru University has a model where we do have foreign faculty, even now, through ICCR as well as foreign governments paying for it. We have 23 foreign languages where we have native speakers. And we also have them, and we publish 3 international Scopus journals, which are on the 1, 2, and 3 in SIS. So I would say that we should also look at the government model where success have taken place.
Thank you. Professor Kandikar.
Yes, sir, I have a question. This
Just
is...
one second. Yeah.
Sir, this is Professor Bhaskar from IIIT Manipur. And in my earlier experience as a Director of International Relations at Anna University, just mere investment of 15 crore for international hostel increased the student strength of foreign nationals from 60 students to 934 in 4 years, which has increased the revenue of per year from 3 crores to 57 crores. If you are going to do it for all 1,000 institutions in the country, it will bring about $7.13 billion to this country. Therefore, it is a very high time that the government of India invests some money to create international facilities to attract these students.
Very nice. Good suggestion. I want the mic to go to the lady standing there. Yeah.
Jain sir.
Just 1 second, sir. One lady first before your turn comes. Just 1 second, sir. Yeah. My volunteers may please help me organize it in such a way that there is always one mic with one lady. Yeah.
धन्यवाद सर. शिक्षा के अंतर्राष्ट्रीयकरण की बात हो रही है और इसमें बहुत महत्वपूर्ण पक्ष भारतीयकरण की है और प्राचीन भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा की है. कुछ विद्वज्जनों ने इन तरफ ध्यान आकर्षित भी किया है. अगर हमारा अतीत बहुत गौरवपूर्ण है तो हमें संकोच नहीं होना चाहिए उसको पूरी प्रतिष्ठा देने के लिए। अगर गुरु शिष्य परंपरा के द्वारा ही उसका संरक्षण होना है, आधुनिक शिक्षण पद्धति में उसका स्थान नहीं बन पा रहा है, तो समानांतर गुरु शिक्षण परंपरा को स्थापित करने के लिए नई शिक्षा नीति में महत्वपूर्ण स्थान दिया जाना चाहिए और उसकी ओर ध्यान जाना चाहिए। यह मेरा बहुत आग्रहपूर्ण प्रश्न है, अन्यथा भारतीयता नहीं बचेगी और पूरे विश्व में चरित्र का संकट बना रहेगा। हम आंकड़े जुटाते रहेंगे, ग्रेडिंग में खड़े होने का प्रयास करेंगे, मानवीयता नहीं बच पाएगी। भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा को संरक्षित करना, सारे संप्रदायों की चर्चा मात्र यहाँ नहीं हो पाई है कि कणाद, महर्षि जैमिनी, महर्षि शौनक, पैपलाद, कठ, ये माध्यम दिन, कांडव, ये कैसे कैसे संप्रदाय हैं जिनका नाम भी यहाँ लेना नहीं हो पाया है पूरे तीनों दिन की सत्रों में। मेरा निवेदन है आप सभी शिक्षा नीति का निर्माण करने वाले लोगों से कि प्राचीन भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा को बहुत ही आदरपूर्ण स्थान दिया जाए और उसको संचालित करने के लिए समानांतर खड़े होने के लिए, अन्यथा विश्व में हम खड़े होंगे तो हमारी जमीन नहीं होगी, हम त्रिशंकु की तरह लटके रह जाएंगे। धन्यवाद सर। मैं आर्य महिला पीजी कॉलेज काशी हिंदू विश्वविद्यालय से संबद्ध है, संस्कृत विभाग में चंद्रकांता राय।
थैंक यू। वी विल हैव वन क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम दिस साइड। या आप भी बोलेंगे समय के साथ। हाँ प्लीज।
Universities sign MOU between the UGC and the Ministry of Education. So this tripartite MOU should include the issues and the components related to existence of foreign faculty. This is one aspect. The second very important pertinent issue out here is that when we advertise for faculty positions, we invite applications only from Indian nationals. And UGC should give permission instead of writing only from Indian nationals.
Policy change.
Yes,
Very
policy
well
change.
said.
This is
Yes,
important.
Madam, you. Yeah.
नमस्कार सर। मैं भारत की जो मुख्य पहचान रही है वो है योग और अध्यात्म। इसी को यदि हम आगे ज़्यादा बढ़ाएं और स्केलिंग करें, काफ़ी विश्वविद्यालयों ने कहा भी है और दयालबाग विश्वविद्यालय के वाइस चांसलर साहब ने भी ये बताया, और कलाओं के प्रति जो उस विशेष रूप से नृत्य के प्रति जो आग्रह रहा है, उन ऐसी कलाओं और वेद पाठ, वैदिक अध्ययन के लिए इनको यदि हम स्किलिंग के डिपार्टमेंट में यदि जोड़ते अधिक, जो जिसका कि अभी कोई स्थान नहीं है उनमें, लेकिन वो बहुत अच्छा रहता। धन्यवाद।
बहुत बढ़िया। चलिए जी।
Hello, I'm General Venkatesh, Vice-Chancellor, Manipal Academy of Higher Education. We are reasonably successful in internationalization in most issues that have been discussed. One issue I'm highlighting is with this new policy of National Medical Commission, erstwhile MCI, with regard to admission of foreign graduates, foreign students into medical education, this is critically playing a negative role. We have absolutely now today banned foreign aspirants of medical students coming to India. I request our Honorable Education Minister to take it up. There has to be a provision. In fact, Mahe, we used to receive a large number of foreign students coming to study medicine in India. But today, with the regulations, it is not permitted.
Policies and policies. Microphone को पीछे lady खड़ी है, उनको दे दीजिए, please.
I am Dr. Vaidehi from Mother Teresa Women's University, Kodaikanal, Tamil Nadu. Earlier, when I was working in Anna University, the Center for International Affairs attracted several foreign university professors to come to university, and admission brochure were circulated in order to bring admission. Similarly, what we can do is we can have several universities come together and we can have an outreach program in several countries so that more students will be aware of the courses that are being offered and universities that are existing in our India. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good morning. Myself, Professor J.P. Singh Jurel, Director, Infinite Center, International Center, Gandhinagar, Gujarat. I have, sir, one submission and request to all the directors and Vice-Chancellor rather than a question. So there is a scheme of Eastern India of Ministry of Education that is being implemented by EdSil and Infinite Center. And as Eastern India portal is there, so I request all the Vice-Chancellor and directors to register your institute on that portal because out of 150 institutions, only 25% institutions are registered. And second thing, I also request you to register your alumni data. The portal is online. By registering your institution and data, which not only provide you an opportunity to showcase and promote your institution at a global level, but also attract the foreign students in India. Thank you.
Very nice.
Thank you so much.
Lady here. Yeah.
Hello.
Sir, one lady, one gentleman.
Sir, thank you so
All right?
much.
Yeah, let's have an orderly system. Yes, please.
I am Dr. Neelam Mishra, Vice-Chancellor from Karad, Maharashtra. My one question or you can say request to UGC panel for medical subjects. I am from Health Institute. For each subject, there should be one post for teacher from international aspect, only for one duration aspect. And they should be given some credit for this posting. 1 year only, internationally, teachers should be requested to join for each subject. One suggestion.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And now the question session is over. Humbly, I request and I invite the chairperson of his concluding notes. Thank you, sir.
My apologies to colleagues who could not share their concerns and questions. Sincere apologies. One of the most noticeable aspect of this conference has been the schedule. And I think we are already on the way to internationalize ourselves, where we are very orderly and we finish our sessions on time and we start on our time. Thank you very much to UGC team for doing a meticulous job. Ladies and gentlemen, I started my introductory comments where I said we would like to produce global citizens, and I ended up saying that we must also look at internationalization to improve our practices. Now, in my concluding remark, I want to go the other way around. I think as of today, the best benefit we are going to get in India is to improve our internal practices. You cannot expect international students, international teachers, if you cannot maintain your toilets clean, full stop. If you cannot give visas in time, if you still have the FRRO processes the way they are for international visitors, we need to improve. And I think this internationalization would help us in improving ourselves. And I think that will be a real value to our university system. And I would think that building on that, we can then start to have aspiration for larger numbers, for larger students going. As some of you might be aware, I have been with the Banaras Hindu University for 6 months now. Before that, I was at IIT Gandhinagar, where we said we will aspire to be international. And I must say that 40% of our undergraduate students at IIT Gandhinagar were going abroad before they graduated. 90% of our PhD students were going abroad before they graduated. 35% of our PhD students at IIT Gandhinagar would spend at least a semester outside India before they would graduate. I think if we have aspirations, we can do it. We worked in a government system, we worked with the same public system, we worked with the same visa system, we worked with exactly the same circumstances. I think we lack aspiration. And I think if we have aspirations, we can do a lot more. And I must say that we had very good panel, we had very good comments and very nice questions. I wish we had more time. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much, sir. Now this session comes to end.